when you go play solo arena on your own time, I really would love for you guys to try this sort of concept out in, you know, other games as well. So first off, first step of you know, doing anything good in an Offspawn is what, guys? There's several things. So I want you guys to actually mention them like right off the rip. Landing. So specifically what? Like, how can you improve?
You want to be the first one onto your specific location, and also make sure you can control that location. If there's like 4 people landing on it, and you're gonna get conned by above and on your side, there's no point in landing there, and rotate to another house or building.
But how? Like, what do you need to do to make sure you notice that in the first place? Like, a lot of people don't even do this step. What is that? An Offspawn? You know what it is?
Look around to see where people
Look
land.
around.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It sounds so simple. Like, it sounds so basic. Like, oh my god, this is the first thing you learn when you're doing Fortnite. Trust me, there's so many people that just forget to do this and just don't have the good enough awareness, or like they don't remind themselves, like, okay, I need to look around. Like, I'm not going to be able to gather information in the first place if I don't look around, right? Like, how is it possible? You need to. This is the first step, right? You can't know how many people are landing at your POI if you don't look back while you're gliding, right? Even though it sort of sacrifices some of your glide like position. That makes sense. So that's really important. So definitely look around, right? It makes a lot of you know, benefits for you, because not only do you know how many people are landing at your POI, but you also know the specific locations at where they're landing, and then you could change your drop based on what you see if you need to, right? For example, let's do a quick example here. So specifically with retail, where I like to land is this place. I call this Noms, okay? This place is really good because it has peppers, and if you're playing solo cash grip or something, and you find, like, okay, I have a really rough time, like, I don't find any shield, I haven't found a shotgun, and I notice that, like, my surroundings are con, or retail in general is really con, and I want to get out, at least I can pick up the peppers before leaving, right? So that's a really good option. So landing Noms is a really good spot in general. Blacktops is another good spot, and Doghouse is another good spot. And somewhere here is also a good spot because you have the option to leave out. So all these little spots are really, really good. I would highly recommend that you look for these options. But what if I'm landing Noms? Let's say I'm landing here, right? Because I like Noms, I want to land there. What if I'm landing here and then I look around and then I notice someone lands right here and someone lands right here? What should I do, guys?
Pull off.
Yeah, but why?
Because you're in a pinch.
Yes, exactly. But there's also another reason. It's not just the pinch itself, like, oh my god, I'm gonna get AR'd from like, you know, 2 different sides. It's the fact that I don't have an alternative loot pad to go to after finishing Noms. Like, if I don't find a shotgun in this specific spot out of 4 chests and 10 floor spawns, where do I go next? I don't have a spot, right? And it's not easy to do this sort of rotation to go to Doghouse because of the fact that it's so open here. If you notice, retail is sort of like a circular POI, like this, right? Meaning that you usually only traverse in these like areas, like you only go in a circle. If you go down the middle, you usually just get shot like right away, or it's just bad because you're putting yourself in an area where like you can get shot from all different directions. Whereas if you stay on the perimeter, notice how like I know I'm probably not gonna get shot from here, right? And if I'm at Blacktop, I know I'm probably not gonna get shot from here. I only have to look in one direction. So that's really nice. So that's why you want to stay in the perimeter in general. And any shooter, this is true. If you play Call of Duty, you'll notice, like, if you want to drop like a high kill win or like a, you know, like some really good game, like you stay on the perimeter. You don't go to the mid map, right? You go mid map, you get shot 360 degrees. It's really bad. But also use Pleasant as a very similar example. It's plays very similarly to retail. You don't go down the middle when you notice there's more than, you know, one person in the POI left. You need to play like this. And sometimes you see this rotation right here, but it's super rare. Like in general, people just go like this. Right, so if it's a very similar example in Pleasant, in my opinion, if I land here and I notice someone's landing right here and then everything else is open, I would prefer to go to Modern, right? Because then it allows me, like, okay, if I don't find a shotgun, I can then go here, right? Then go here, and then go here. Like, this is a really good option for me. So that's really important. Just make sure you have a future plan whenever you're landing at a house. And if you don't, then obviously you messed up in your glide. Like, you didn't look around good enough to make sure, you know, find out your path ahead of time, and then you didn't land at the correct spot. And that most of Offspawn is like at the very beginning, right? Like if you don't set yourself up properly, there's almost nothing you could do. Like if you purposely put yourself in a position where you do have a chance to not get a shotgun, then yeah, it's gonna be tough. Like you did it to yourself, you know. Offspawn, unironically, like you're right, it does have a lot of RNG to it. However, you can do so many different things to mitigate that RNG by landing at specific spots based on what you see when you're looking back to gain info at the very beginning, right? And during the glide. What's something you could do to really improve your glides? Do people have ideas for that?
Look at drop maps
That's
that
exactly
pros
right.
use.
Yeah. So there's two options here. You can either make your own, or you can, you know, get one off someone else. But I will say that not every map that you get off of someone else is perfect. Usually the ones you make on your own experience, usually are better. Something I will say is notice how when the bus comes from here and you land close, you can't pull off to go far. See that?
Yeah.
But if it pulls from, if the bus comes here and you want to land at yellow, notice how you can pull back to blacktops. So that's something to keep in mind. That's an option, right? Yeah, based on where your bus path is, you can actually change up those, like, you can have a backup option, right? So sometimes what people will do on purpose is they like glide a little bit higher if they notice that, okay, only one team is coming, and then they'll just go to the area that the other team's not going to because they're pretty confident in their fighting ability. All they need to do is make sure they don't get scuffed off of some off-spawn RNG loot thing, right? So they don't want a 50-50, they just want to take the other half of retail, because if you split retail in half, it's residents and blacktops, right? So if you know it's a 3v3, then you might as well just take the other half. Like, screw it, doesn't matter. What I will say is that sometimes teams will do something like one person lands here, one person lands here, and then one person lands here, or like here. They try to cut you off, right? So definitely watch out for that. Like, there's sometimes try to cut off your loop path by grabbing like all of this, and then, you know, this guy quick rotates to yellow or something. Like, watch out for that, because sometimes trios will do that, and then you're only left with this, which will definitely lose you the fight. One of the most important things in Offspawn in general, in trios specifically, is like making sure that you're not losing the like loot war. You need to make sure you have more loot than the enemy. If you can do that, you will have a severe disadvantage. It won't be it won't win you the fight right away, but it will definitely help you. It's a big factor. So definitely look to cut off your loot path. So for example, let me show you an example. In the previous example, let's say it's solos again, and they landed here and here. Two people, okay? Two enemies. You're still in gliding, and then you decide to land here. Isn't that really good? Because this guy is now screwed. You put him in the middle, right? This guy is really, really tough. Like, he could go here, but you could also just beam him on the way, so he's not going to do that. He's going to go towards noms, which sort of forces this guy and this guy to fight, right? And then while you're looting this, right, all you're doing is just, okay, I'm going to listen for AR shots or shotgun shots. And then when that happens, I'm going to be looking for, okay, like, AR shots, it might not be a full third-party opportunity because they could just be going for, like, little chip damage on each other. You don't necessarily know that. When you hear that shotgun shot, that's when you need to go and third-party, because they're clearly box fighting. They would not be shotgun shotting across the map, right? Like, they're in range to fight each other. And that's the specific window that you want to go and fight them, because you can third party, right? So if there's like a 1v1v1 situation, that's really important, right? You want to be able to be the third party and not be the one getting third party. But if it's a 1v1, obviously none of that matters. But notice how it's really important. Like, you can't know what to do if you don't even know how many people are at your POI. You need to know the exact number. Like, that's how you know the situation, right? Like, you wouldn't go to third party if you know there's 4 people here, like you and 3 others, because then when you go to third party, the 4th guy is going to come out of nowhere and third party you guys, right? Like, this is what you need to think about. You need to be smart in Offspawn. So definitely look out for that. Like, make sure you know the exact number of people at your spawn and think about it. Like, what does this mean? Like, what does it mean for what I have to do, right? And sometimes there's like 6 people here, right? And then at that point you can just glide off and land here instead. So like, but you won't know there's 6 people until you actually look. So one of the most important things in Offspawn, we mentioned this before, is to really make sure you're looking backwards. It's so simple, but like, I mean, we'll try it. I promise you. Like, we'll do it at a solo arena, and like, it'll be really tough. Like, it's not as easy as people think, because you're so focused on like hitting your glide that it's difficult to actually look back and actually count every single person, and also make sure you know exactly where they're landing, right? So that's basically it. Just make sure you're not getting cut off, and you have a future plan in your loop path, and make sure your glide is good, right?